I was raised to hold to a very specific piece of advice, and I've realized as I've gotten older that this has actually become more helpful as I go throughout life, even than when I was young. And that piece of advice can be summed up into just one word, and that is to listen. Just listen. Proverbs 10 verses 9, 10, 11 talk about a fool and a wise man and the difference in how they talk. The fool is called a babbling fool, and they come to ruin, it says, where a wise man or a discerning man is like a fountain of life. And personally, what this makes me think of is an uncontrolled babbling brook, right? You can hear it, the water is going out in all sorts of directions. In contrast, the discerning man's speech is like the fountain, where the water is smooth and under control. It is meaningful and intentional because it's part of the fountain and it is beautiful. It's part of the art of the fountain, but it is very intentional, gets the point across because the person has listened, the person has read the room and sees what the best response is to make. When we listen, we are not thinking about what we're going to say next. We are not waiting for the other person to be done talking so that we can throw in our piece of advice or our next statement to win the argument. The funny thing is that I think we all know deep down that we should be following this advice, that we should be listening more than we speak and actually hearing what people are saying rather than just loading up our next response. But we don't do it, so I'm here to tell you again. There's a proverb of King Solomon that lays it out so perfectly, and it says that when there are many words, transgression is unavoidable, but he who restrains his lips is wise. And I have written right next to that, just stop talking. If you keep talking, you will eventually get into trouble of some sort. And this is just so true because when you're listening, you actually can't be talking, or at least you shouldn't be. And that's actually a key point to this advice, that you are listening to what other people are saying and you're actually understanding them better before you make claims and comments that you shouldn't. You're figuring out what's going on before you actually do something that's going to hurt you in the long run by just saying the first thing that comes to your mind. I heard a comical saying once that went like, man and fish are a great deal similar. A fish would never get in very serious trouble if it just kept its mouth shut. That's very true for a lot of scenarios, but especially for us. When we talk, we get into trouble. If we don't think before we speak, we will end up in trouble. The advice to just listen is not only found in these proverbs, obviously, and for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to speed run through a bunch of these that you can later go and look because there's a lot more to each of them. Feel free to write down these references or to just pause the video and look these up on your own time. But here we go. In an abundance of counselors, there is victory. He who walks with wise men will be wise. He who restrains his words has knowledge. This one is a personal favorite. Even a fool, when he keeps silent, is considered wise. Listen to counsel and accept discipline, that you may be wise the rest of your days. What I'm trying to say is listen, and especially if you don't know what to say, just listen, because an endless line of words and babbling will eventually lead to saying the wrong thing and to hurting others unintentionally and to making claims you weren't ready to make. And I definitely don't want to be compared to a babbling fool that comes to ruin. 10:13 from earlier says that wisdom can be found on the lips of the discerning. And that asks the question then, do you discern before you speak? Do you look around at who's in a room before you start commenting? Do you just walk in saying whatever you want and not caring about the well-being of others? I know speaking flippantly has gotten me into many situations that I would rather not be in, so I want to leave you with this last piece of advice. James 1 verses 19 and 20 say, you know this, brothers, let everyone be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God. I hope this helps and that you can take this advice with you into your future.